castle of the tyrant Corradino. As the curtain rises, a group of villagers led by Igoldo come to pay homage, but they're warned off, first by the tower keeper Ginardo, and then by Corradino's doctor Aliprando. He points out the signs on the castle walls. Visitors keep out, and he adds that his master is also a notorious hater of women. Understandably, the villagers flee. The poet Isidoro then arrives, tired and hungry after his long journey all the way from Naples. He sees the warning signs too, but Corradino appears before Isidoro can escape, and he's about to kill the trespasser when Aliprando persuades him to be lenient and just imprison Isidoro instead. Aliprando has come to tell his master that Matilda wants to see him. Her dying father put her in Corradino's care. Corradino tells his physician to look after her, but to keep her away from him. He's more concerned with another prisoner, Eduardo, the son of his enemy Raimondo. Eduardo is brought before his captor. He laments his father's suffering, but he refuses to give in to Corradino.
No, I'm not going to bother with opera.
Your vet. This information is brought to you by Bayer, makers of Drontal, Advocate and Seresto.
The Debenhams Christmas Spectacular. Up to 20...
It's a bombing campaign which began on Wednesday involving the Air Force and the Navy. But officials here will not say how long the operation will last, nor whether there'll also be a ground offensive by troops which have been moving close to the Gaza border with tanks and artillery. An Israeli army spokeswoman told the BBC the troops were ready to invade, but so far there's been no decision by the government.
The Egyptian authorities now say that 50 young schoolchildren were killed when their bus collided with a train at a level crossing this morning. The bus driver also died, and at least 15 people were injured in the accident, about 200 miles south of Cairo. The bus was cut in half. Footage showed the children's school bags and textbooks scattered among the wreckage. Our correspondent John Lyme is following developments from Cairo.
On a railway track south of Cairo, wreckage and belongings are strewn more than half a mile. This is how far the train shunted the school bus after ploughing into it on a level crossing. The victims were nursery school children, aged between 4 and 6 years old, on a school outing. Witnesses said the level crossing barriers were left open, allowing the bus to drive into the path of the oncoming train. The provincial governor has said the railway worker in charge of the crossing was asleep. The worker has been arrested. The transport minister has also accepted responsibility and resigned. The head of Egyptian Railways has resigned as well. But that did little to placate local people. They set up barricades, lit fires, and fired in the air, preventing the Prime Minister Hisham Kandil from visiting the area. Egypt's railways have a terrible safety record, with accidents regularly claiming major loss of life.
The independent campaign group, the Electoral Reform Society, is described as feeble by mandates of the 41 new police and crime commissioners in England and Wales. After record low turnouts in Thursday's elections, only one of them secured the support of more than 10% of eligible voters. But one of Britain's most senior police officers has insisted that the commissioner's authority has not been undermined. Our political correspondent Tim Reed reports.
Turnout was historically low at less than 15%. With so few ballots cast, some have questioned the legitimacy of the newly elected police commissioners, who are now responsible for hiring and firing chief constables and setting budgets. And now analysis by the Electoral Reform Society shows that just one of the 41 commissioners managed to secure the backing of more than 1 in 10 of those eligible to vote. That was the independent candidate in Avon and Somerset. The Conservative victor in Essex won the support of fewer than 1 in 20 voters. Former Labour Home Secretary Charles Clarke says that's created a fundamental problem.
These people who were elected yesterday have no mandate to lead policing their communities. 15% turnout across the country.
Hi there, Adam.
Their papers. Many people saying they have no...
I'm beginning to think I'm in the doghouse in Frank's. I was in there a while ago and nobody spoke to me at all. So,
That view is unlikely to be shared by 30.
I don't know whether I'm right or not, but I got that distinct impression.
16 Conservative and 12 Independents were also elected. Sir Hugh Ward, who's the president of the Association of Chief Police Officers, has conceded that there are big challenges ahead, but said mandate was not among them.
The individuals have been properly elected in a democratic process, and the issue of numbers
pit masters, particularly as they set priorities amid much tighter budgets.
The electrical retailer Comet says it will close 41 stores by the end of the month unless a buyer is found. The business has gone into administration because of poor high street sales amid rising competition from the internet. Here's our business correspondent, Theo Leggett.
Comet's future is looking increasingly bleak. Since it took control of the electrical chain 2 weeks ago, the administrator, Deloitte, has been trying to find a suitable buyer.
Hello, Debs291, I think it's there. I think I'm not for sure whether I've read you right or not, but I obviously can't see the chat properly at the moment.
Of the business. Deloitte says that unless a buyer is found by the end of the month, it will have to close 41 stores out of Comet's network of 236. Neil Saunders, director of retail analysts Lumino, thinks a breakup of the chain couldn't have been avoided.
The difficulty for Deloitte is that no one will be willing to take on Comet as it stands because it's a business that was failing, has been bought out and has failed again, and it is a very big commitment, and it's unlikely that anyone will be able to make success of it in its present form.
More than 500 full and part-time jobs are affected by the move. Deloitte says that although it will attempt to redeploy staff, redundancies are inevitable. It's already in the process of laying off 330 office staff, while hundreds more job losses.
Hi Miami.
Home delivery business.
At least one of you is coming to say hello to me.
Days.
The multinational company Traffic Euro has been fined over £1 million for dumping hundreds of tons of hazardous waste in Ivory Coast. The firm, which is based in the Netherlands, reached an out-of-court settlement there after being accused of depositing the toxic materials in Abidjan 6 years ago. 100,000 residents sought medical treatment. 16 people were reported to have died. In 2007, Traffic Euro agreed to pay £125 million to the Ivorian government while denying any wrongdoing. Now sport. England's rugby union side has suffered a setback, losing to Australia at Twickenham. In the Premier League, Arsenal beat Tottenham in a 7-goal North London derby. Chris Latcham has a full rundown.
England have been beaten by Australia in the Cook Cup, the second of their autumn internationals. Our correspondent Ian Robertson reports on a 20 points to 14 defeat at Twickenham.
England threw away their best chance of winning this match by declining to take not one, not two, but several penalty kicks a goal in the final 20 minutes. It made no sense. Instead, Australia took control of the second half with 3 penalties from Derek Barnes. In the first half, Barnes kicked a penalty and a drop ball. Nick Cummins scored the Australian try. Toby Flood was in good kicking form. He landed 3 penalties out of 3. Manu Tuilagi scored England's try. This is a bad result for England, which may adversely affect the World Cup rankings.
Scotland suffered a second consecutive defeat. They were beaten 21-10 by South Africa at Murrayfield, while Ireland A are currently leading Fiji by 29 points to 0. Arsenal were victorious in the Premier League's North London derby. They came from a goal down to beat Tottenham 5-2. Tottenham's opening goal scorer Emmanuel Adebayor was sent off in the first half with the score at 1-0. The win moves Arsenal above Spurs to 6th in the table. Their manager is Arsene Wenger.
Please try to put a great result for us, and Tottenham is a good team. I don't think there was some turning points in the second half of Adebayor. How much is that interesting result? I don't know. But I was also confident when we will come back into the game and definitely stand.
Queen's Park Rangers stayed bottom of the league after losing 3-1 to fellow relegation strugglers Southampton. Mark Hughes' side remained without a win in the league all season and are 4 points adrift at the foot of the table. Chelsea are without a win in 4 outings after suffering a 2-1 defeat away at West Bromwich Albion. West Brom are up to 4th and are just 1 point behind Chelsea. Luis Suarez scored twice as Liverpool beat Wigan 3-0. The reigning champions Manchester City beat Aston Villa 5-0. And elsewhere there were wins for Swansea and Reading. In the evening kick-off at Carrow Road, Manchester United are currently drawing 0-0 with Norwich. Celtic
We've got a crescent moon tonight. Oh, you can see, is it not?
Away win over Aberdeen, while Hibernian fall to 2nd after losing 3-1 away at Dundee.
Chris Latcham. Ahead of the BBC's Children in Need appeal, said she could not be more thrilled that the charity extravaganza raised nearly £27 million yesterday, despite a tough year. Stevie Spring said by the time the live 7-hour show finished in the small hours of this morning, it had smashed the on-the-night total from the previous year, adding another £1 million to that figure. A major archive of items associated with the lace-making industry has opened 25,000 pieces of machine-made lace. It's the centrepiece of events across the city, celebrating its lace-making heritage. This report from Nottingham by our arts correspondent, Rebecca.
Right. You can see where we're going. Might get fairly near it today. Sainsbury's shopping trip. I'm leaving the chat open, but I'm closing the video for now, okay? So the video will come back on in about maybe a quarter of an hour or so. Oh, flip.